What would it really be like to, live a day in the life of Julius Caesar? Not just any day, but right at the absolute peak of his power.
Yeah.
Yet only weeks, literally weeks, before everything came crashing down.
It's an incredible moment to zoom in on. We're talking February 44 BCE.
Yeah, and he's just been declared dictator perpetuo, dictator for life.
Which sounds powerful, and it was, but it was also, well, completely unprecedented, a real break from Roman tradition.
Absolutely. I mean, dictators used to be a temporary thing, right? Like 6 months in an emergency.
Exactly, a constitutional safeguard. And Caesar just shattered it, cementing his control, yes, but also really stirring up trouble.
Sowing the seeds, as they say. Because less than a month later, boom, the Ides of March, his assassination.
A turning point in history, no doubt.
So that's our mission today. We're going deep, using the sources we have to piece together just one day from this crucial period.
Trying to get a shortcut, really, to understanding the man, the power dynamics, the society.
And maybe feel those chilling undercurrents of what was coming. So, okay, let's unpack this. What does a day look like for the most powerful man in Rome when, well, time's running out?
It starts early. Really early.
Yeah, our sources, like Plutarch and Suetonius, they're pretty consistent on this, aren't they? He was disciplined, almost ascetic in his habits.
Mm-hmm. So, picture this. It's before dawn. Rome is quiet, cool, maybe a bit misty. You might hear a rooster way off somewhere, still half asleep.
And Caesar, he's already up. In his villa on the Palatine Hill, it's a lifelong habit, apparently. Something he picked up during all those military campaigns, maybe?
Very likely, that drive, that relentless energy. And from his room, he's got this amazing view looking down over the Roman Forum.
Which is still dark, right? Shrouded in mist, just shadows of temples and basilicas down there.
Total quiet. It's a real contrast to the day ahead, which is going to be anything but quiet.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's he thinking in those moments? Is it solitude, introspection, or just planning the day's moves?
Probably a bit of all three. You can almost see him, can't you? The powerful figure, alone for a moment, contemplating, well, everything. The weight of Rome.
And that quiet moment doesn't last long, because he immediately steps into one of his key roles.
Right. His religious duty. As Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest, he performs a ritual.
A small one, but important.
Hugely important, an offering to Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. This wasn't just, personal piety. It was deeply political.
How so?
Because it reinforced his authority. It intertwined the sacred and the secular. Caesar wasn't just a general or a politician. He was also the head priest.
Giving his rule a kind of divine stamp of approval.
Precisely. It consolidated his power, his legitimacy. And Vesta herself was central to Roman life, guardian of that eternal flame, symbol of the city's stability.
So when Caesar does this ritual, he's basically saying, I'm the guardian of Rome's spiritual well-being too.
You got it. It subtly ties his personal rule to Rome's destiny, its prosperity. It's a powerful message, playing right into his public image and commanding loyalty. Made his power seem almost fated.
Okay, so he does the Vesta ritual, and then things take, well, a very Roman turn, right? With the omens.
Yes, the Haruspex arrives, his personal priest, the one skilled in divination, reading entrails.
Specifically, the liver of a sacrificed animal, in this case, a sheep.
And initially, the reading is good, favorable, which is what you want, obviously.
But then, hesitation.
Yeah, a crucial moment. The priest pauses, maybe lowers his voice and says something like, there is a shadow, dictator perpetuo.
Oof. Chilling. Especially that title, Dictator Perpetuo, hanging in the air. It had only just been granted.
Weeks before. And Caesar's reaction, classic Caesar, he just smiles, dismissive.
And says what? The gods have always favored Rome. Something like that.
Exactly. So much confidence. Or maybe arrogance. It's loaded with irony for us looking back.
Definitely. Yeah, and this whole practice, Haruspex, it wasn't just like fortune-telling, was it? It was serious business in Rome.
Absolutely. Deeply cultural, politically significant. You consulted the gods before doing anything major. Even someone skeptical wouldn't just wave it away publicly.
So that priest's hesitation, was it real foresight? A genuine bad omen? Or maybe something else?
That's the million denarius question, isn't it? Was it a genuine glimpse of doom? Or perhaps a veiled warning. Maybe someone close to power trying to send a message, testing Caesar's reaction using the guise of an omen.
Because that title, Dictator for Life, was causing serious friction.
Huge friction. So Caesar's dismissal, Was it hubris? Was it a calculated performance to project invincibility? Or did he genuinely believe he was untouchable, favored by destiny?
What do you think? Knowing Caesar.
Knowing Caesar, it was likely a performance, at least partly. He understood Roman psychology, appearing unfazed by a bad omen. That reinforces the image of being divinely favored, almost superhuman.
A good countermove against enemies who might try to use omens against him.
Exactly. It's projecting absolute confidence. Maybe he did feel untouchable after defying the odds so many times. Or maybe he just knew how crucial that projection of confidence was.
Either way, he acknowledges the shadow, even if only to brush it aside. He chooses to ignore it, or thinks he can overcome it.
And with that, the private, sacred part of the morning is over. Time to face the public.
Right. He heads down from the Palatine Hill towards the Forum, and he makes an entrance.
Escorted by his lictors, those bodyguards carrying the fasces.
Those bundles of rods with the axe, symbols of power.
Immense power. And seeing them with Caesar would have been visually arresting. A clear statement of his imperium, his authority.
And there's something specific about the axe, isn't there, inside the city?
Yes. Traditionally, within Rome's sacred boundary, the Pomerium magistrates lictors removed the axe from the fasces. It symbolized that citizens had the right to appeal a death sentence.
Like check on power.
A fundamental one. But for Caesar, as dictator perpetuo, the axe remained, even inside the city.
Wow, so that's not just symbolic authority,
That's visually stating he held the power of life and death over citizens without appeal, something unheard of for centuries. It underscored just how revolutionary his position was, and how unnerving for traditionalists.
You can imagine the senators seeing that. Okay, so he arrives in the Forum. What's the scene like?
Buzzing, completely alive. Merchants selling their goods, citizens arguing politics, senators rushing about. The noise, the smells, the sheer energy.
A total contrast to his quiet dawn ritual.
Absolutely. The beating heart of Rome. And Caesar walks right into the middle of it, radiating that magnetic presence he had.
And he doesn't just stride through, does he? He stops. He interacts.
Mm-hmm. Masterful populism. The sources say he greets veterans, shaking hands, sharing a word. These are his guys, the foundation of his power.
His loyal legionaries.
The ones who'd followed him everywhere. And then he hands out coins to the plebeians, the ordinary folk.
But the sources are a bit cynical about that, right? They call it a carefully planned show of generosity.
They do, which suggests it wasn't just spontaneous kindness, it was strategy. Public gestures were vital in Roman politics.
Especially for Caesar, connecting directly with the people, bypassing the old aristocracy.
Exactly. Reinforcing his popular support, cementing the loyalty of those veterans. It made them feel seen, valued, a very smart way to counter any grumbling from the elites. That personal touch was key.
Okay, so he's worked the crowd. Now into the Curia, Julia, the Senate House. The atmosphere must change completely.
Oh, absolutely. From public adoration to, well, palpable tension. He's there to hear grievances, but the air is thick with resentment.
How did that show itself?
You see this clear division. Some senators are bowing low, almost exaggerated deference, forced respect.
While others
Barely nod. You can almost feel the disdain radiating off them. It shows that tightrope he was walking.
And the complaints came from both sides, didn't they?
Right. You have
Yeah.
the traditionalists, the guys still loyal to the memory of Cato the Younger, the ultimate anti-Caesar figure. They're whispering, you centralize too much power.
They see him as killing the Republic.
Fundamentally, betraying everything Rome stood for, in their eyes. But then you have other senators.
People who maybe supported him initially, hoping for big changes.
Exactly, and they're grumbling, you do too little.
They want faster reforms, more radical action to fix Rome's problems, and they think he's being too cautious.
So he's getting it from both ends. Too autocratic for some, not radical enough for others. What a position to be in.
It's a paradox. The atmosphere must have been incredibly charged, whispers, loaded glances, a real dance of power and suspicion.
Yet, even in that tense room, his personality dominates. The sources say his charisma filled the room like incense in a temple.
It's a great image, isn't it? He commanded attention, and he knew how to use it. He talks practical stuff, roads, the grain supply.
Things that matter to ordinary Romans. Tangible improvements.
But then he pivots. Grand visions, new colonies, Carthage, Corinth, major strategic centers. He paints this picture of a stable, prosperous empire, peace after all the civil wars.
And then the big finale, that line. Let Rome stretch from the Isles of Albion to the sands of Egypt.
Goosebumps. That's not just politics, that's epic. Prophetic, almost.
Yeah.
Tapping right into that Roman desire for empire.
Absolutely. It's about destiny, identity. And he, Caesar, is the one who embodies it now. Dictator for life, leading Rome to this limitless future.
So what does that do? In that room, even with the tension.
It inspires awe, even among those who resent his power. For many Romans, tired of war and instability, this promise of peace, prosperity, and unparalleled glory delivered with such conviction, it was incredibly compelling.
He's selling a vision they desperately want to believe in.
He is a glorious, stable future that only he, it seems, can deliver. It helps explain why, despite the elite conspiracies brewing, he still had such massive popular support. He offered something to everyone.
Okay, Senate meeting done. Where next? Back to his base, in a way.
You could say that. He heads out to the Campus Martius, the big field outside the city walls where the soldiers train.
This is where he reconnects with the real source of his power, the legions.
Definitely. And the sources note he puts on his Scarlet General's clerk, the paludamentum.
Symbolic, even though he's not leading campaigns anymore.
Highly symbolic. And just his presence electrifies the troops drilling there. These are the guys who fought for him in Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, beat Pompey.
His veterans.
Their shouts of, Ave Caesar! Hail Caesar! It's not just a greeting, it's devotion. Almost worship, built over years of shared danger and victory. He always looked after his soldiers.
That bond was unbreakable, really. More important than any Senate vote.
Arguably, yes. It was the bedrock. And it wasn't just about charisma, it was about practical leadership, too.
Like the story of the siege tower.
Exactly. A perfect example. A soldier, maybe an engineer, shows him a wooden model of a new siege engine design.
And Caesar doesn't just brush him off.
No.
Yeah.
He's interested. He praises the idea, gets down on the soldier's level, talks to him directly, and promises funding to develop it.
That's huge for morale, isn't it?
Immense. It shows he values innovation from any rank. That he's paying attention, that good ideas get rewarded by the man himself. It fosters incredible personal loyalty.
That blend of military genius and the personal touch, that's what set him apart.
It secured that unshakable devotion. Few other generals could match it. His soldiers felt he was one of them, but also more.
His vision extended beyond the military too, didn't it? Later in the day, he's thinking about Rome itself.
Yes, he meets with his architects, his city planners, and he makes this incredibly bold statement.
The city of marble line.
That's the one. Rome will be a city of marble, even if I found it in brick.
Wow. Talk about legacy building.
It's pure ambition. He wants to transform Rome physically, make it a monumental capital worthy of its empire, gleaming marble everywhere.
Not just conquering territory, but building a lasting monument.
Exactly. Urban planning on a grand scale. He wants his reign literally carved into the stones of the city for eternity. He's the conqueror, yes, but also the architect of a new, magnificent Rome.
So much packed into one day already. Does he even stop for lunch?
He does, briefly. Back at the villa, the sources mention his prandium.
Which was
Surprisingly simple. Olives, bread, maybe some figs, a light meal.
It's almost mundane.
Yeah.
Amidst all this epic stuff. Humanizes him a bit.
It does. A quick private pause before diving back into the complexities of ruling an empire. Because the work doesn't stop.
No rest for the dictator. What's next?
Dictating letters. And look who he's writing to. It shows his reach.
Who's on the list?
Cicero the Great Orator, sometimes ally, sometimes critic. Caesar's always trying to manage that relationship. Then Pompey's remaining allies, trying to reconcile or neutralize the old opposition.
Still dealing with the fallout from the Civil War.
Constantly. And crucially, he's writing to Cleopatra in Alexandria.
A reminder of his influence over Egypt, that vital, wealthy kingdom, and his personal connection there.
And while he's dictating, reports are coming in. From his agents across the empire, Gaul, Egypt.
What's the news?
The East is stable. For now.
That little phrase says a lot, doesn't it? For now.
It really does. Constant vigilance required. Even at the height of his power, there are always potential flashpoints, shifting loyalties. He's managing this vast, complex network. That pressure must have been immense. Global responsibilities.
And the pressure isn't just external, is it? The danger is closer to home. Much closer.
Now we get to the really tense part. The sources describe a private meeting in a shadowed garden portico at the villa. Very atmospheric.
Who's he meeting with?
Marcus Antonius. Mark Antony. His loyal general, his right-hand man.
And they're speaking in hushed tones. About what?
About unrest, reforms, and specifically the lingering tension with Brutus and Cassius.
Naming the names. Wow. So the threat is known, at least vaguely.
It seems so, and Antony tries to reassure him, says something like, they won't move against you.
Famous last words. Almost literally. And Caesar's reply.
This is the chilling part. He says, I hope not, but if they do, I'll write the ending of that tragedy myself.
Just incredible. The confidence, the audacity, or is it fatalism? Believing he controls his own destiny, even in death. But
It's hard to know exactly what's behind it. Hubris, stoicism, a belief he's just too big to fail. But standing where we are, knowing what happens next, it's just dripping with dramatic irony.
Antony's trying to protect him, but he's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Brutus and Cassius are moving against him. The conspiracy is real.
And Caesar, maybe sensing something, maybe just supremely confident, basically dares fate. It contrasts so sharply with those public displays of power. Here, in private, the potential for betrayal is acknowledged.
It shows the hidden anxieties. Even if he masks them with bravado, the private world of power is precarious.
Very full of shadows, just like that garden portico. He knew he had enemies, but perhaps he underestimated just how far they'd go, or thought he could handle them.
The day's not over yet, though. What happens as evening falls?
A change of pace again. He hosts the banquet. Private, but lavish.
Okay, paint the scene.
Imagine flickering torchlight, gold goblets shining, musicians playing lyres and flutes, the murmur of conversation. It's opulent.
Who's there?
A mix. Senators, generals, poets, even fashionable lovers. It's the Roman elite gathered under his roof.
And these banquets weren't just parties, were they?
Not at all. They were crucial for networking, negotiating, cementing alliances, displaying status. The guest list itself shows the breadth of Caesar's influence. Military, political, cultural. It's Rome's power structure gathered around him.
Is Cleopatra there?
Interestingly, no. She's absent. But the sources say her name is whispered more than once.
So even her absence is significant. People are talking about her.
Definitely. Her influence on Caesar, the controversy around her being in Rome, her son Caesarion, it's all part of the political subtext. Her power is felt even when she's not in the room. That whole situation added another layer of complexity and potential scandal.
And during the dinner, there's more. Image management.
Oh, yes. Between courses, and they mention exotic food like honey dormice, roasted boar, really emphasizing the luxury a poet steps up.
To recite something.
A new poem dedicated to Caesar, praising his achievements, his vision. It's pure PR, propaganda even, reinforcing his greatness for this influential audience, using art to shape the narrative.
Even back then, controlling the story was key.
Absolutely essential for a ruler like Caesar.
Then comes another moment loaded with meaning, the toast.
Right. Someone proposes a toast to the eternal dictator.
Wow. Putting it right out there. Eternal. That must have caused a stir. It's both loyal and incredibly provocative, given the title was so new and controversial.
Exactly. And Caesar's reaction, he laughs.
Just laughs.
Laughs and then says, let's not tempt the gods.
Witty. But what does it mean? Is he being genuinely humble? Aware of the danger of hubris? Or is it just a clever deflection?
It's ambiguous, isn't it? It could be a strategic show of modesty for an audience that might be uncomfortable with the eternal part, or maybe a flash of genuine awareness about the precariousness of it all.
Or just a master politician knowing how to handle a potentially awkward moment. He acknowledges the idea of tempting fate, which is ironic given his earlier dismissal of the omen and his conversation with Antony.
It is. It's another glimpse into that complex mix of confidence and perhaps underlying awareness of the risks. He knew how to play the game, when to project power, when to feign humility.
So the banquet winds down, the guests leave. What happens then?
He's alone, finally. The sources picture him standing on his balcony under the stars, listening to the sounds of Rome settling down for the night.
What kind of sounds?
Faint sounds, carts rumbling on stone streets somewhere, dogs barking in the distance, the wind in the trees, the city breathing.
It sounds like a moment of peace, reflection, after the intensity of the day.
A rare moment of solitude. Just him and the city below, and the sources capture that feeling of ownership, don't they?
Yeah, that line. Rome is his now, its streets, its people, its fate.
It's the ultimate statement of his perceived control. He is Rome. It's past, present, future. The weight of it all on his shoulders, a weight he seems to have fully embraced.
Believing he holds it all in his hands, the pinnacle of his power, but also
a profound illusion, tragically, because the sources don't leave us there, on that balcony, under the stars.
No, they deliver the final chilling blow, the ultimate foreshadowing.
The reminder of reality. But in the shadows of the Senate and under the wings of ambition, knives are being sharpened.
It hits hard knowing what's coming. That contrast between his feeling of total control and the reality of the conspiracy.
It's stark, and the language, shadows of the Senate, wings of ambition, it personifies the threat, makes it feel almost inevitable.
And then the explicit mention. Little does he know the Ides of March are less than a month away.
Connects this specific day directly to the climax, a powerful reminder that even for Caesar, the master strategist, the future was closing in unseen.
Which brings us back to that question. Was he truly blind? Or did he just believe himself invincible beyond reach, able to write his own ending?
It's the great mystery, isn't it? Despite all his intelligence, his charisma, his power, how much can anyone truly control their destiny when ambition and resentment are working against them, often in secret?
A profound question about power itself.
And the limits of human agency, even for someone as colossal as Caesar, he was still caught in the human drama.
So looking back at this one day, it's been quite a journey. From those quiet dawn rituals,
Through the buzzing forum, the tense Senate connecting with his loyal
the
soldiers,
private political maneuvering, those hushed, ominous conversations.
the lavish banquet, and finally that solitary reflection, feeling like master of it all, right before the end.
It reveals so many layers, doesn't it? The politician, the leader, the builder, the man, all standing unknowingly on the edge.
And it really underscores the immense pressure, the constant calculation, but also the vulnerability hidden beneath that veneer of absolute power. Life at the top was a non-stop negotiation.
Public image versus private anxieties. Grand visions versus hidden threats.
And it shows, I think, how even when you think you control everything, unseen forces, ambition, resentment, can be sharpening those knives in the shadows, ready to change the narrative completely.
So what does this incredible day, this snapshot on the brink, mean for you listening now? What does it tell us about power itself?
Is it a burden? A delusion? It's just a temporary stage, even for the greatest players.
And how do our own lives, our own carefully built personas and plans, interact with all those unpredictable currents, the intentions of others, seen and unseen?
Something to think about, definitely. Until our next deep dive.